Earlier this year, in April, we got a new World Chess Champion. Ding Liren from China won a fantastic match against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and it's the moment we basically started this channel, and I'm very grateful for all the support, and I hope more people will keep following my channel, so help growing it. I will give you an update on what's happening with the world champion, because we haven't heard much from him in recent months. Let me tell you what happened after this world championship match. He went on to play a tournament in Bucharest, which was part of the Grand Chess Tour. He didn't play very well, but what can you expect after 1 month of an exhausting match, which he eventually won? You cannot expect somebody to deliver its best. But ever since then, he has been canceling tournaments. He is part of the Grand Chess Tour, but now again, in November, he was supposed to take part in the Grand Chess Tour, in the Sinkfield Cup, the classical event, and the Rapid and Blitz event, but he has cancelled it for health reasons. And what it exactly is, we don't know. But he said it to chess.com that he declined the invitation to recover, to get better, and for the end of the year, we are not expecting him to return to any other event. But in January in 2024, he is going to play in my country, in the Netherlands, in the Tata Steel Masters tournament. That's going to be a big event, and very likely Magnus Carlsen is also going to be there. So that could be a very nice matchup again. But for now, we don't know anything of what he is doing. He showed up in some Chinese national TV program to commentate on some chess event there, but no games. He has played maybe in some online tournaments, but apparently he is tired. He is suffering from this illness. Maybe he's just very exhausted still from that, not only from the match, but the entire preparation around it. So yeah, that's a pity for us, but we are looking forward to seeing him in Tata Steel Masters in Wijk aan Zee. Let me just show you in this video the last classical game he played. It was in Bucharest in May, 15th of May to be precise, and he was playing in the last round against local hero Bogdan Daniel Deac from Romania, and it was a very nice game by Ding Liren. It was the only victory of him from that tournament. So let's have a quick look, just to give you a feeling how strong he actually is. Deac opens the game with 1d4, and we get very well-known opening variation from the Queen's Indian defense, characterized by this move b6. Ding Liren is one of the main experts on this line with the black pieces. He has won many fascinating games with it, and they are following a long theoretical line, which we're not going to cover in detail, but basically up to this point in the opening where white is a pawn down, but he is getting nice pressure, nice long-term pressure against the backward pawn on the d-file. Looks like white is very active, and that is true, but black is rock solid and able to neutralize all the pressure. Let's have a look. Black castles. Now the pawn comes forward to e5, attacking the knight. The knight goes to h5 to attack the queen. Queen goes away to c4. Now the queen goes to c7, attacking the pawn on e5, but also connecting the rooks. So the rooks are likely going to join play very soon. Bishop h6. White gets the bishop out with tempo, hitting the rook, and black kicks the queen away with the move knight a5. That's a nice move as you open up the diagonal for this bishop as well. The queen goes back to e2, rook goes to e8, knight c3, rook a d8. Black is a pawn up and doing okay here. Knight e5 has been played in the game, and I think there were even still some correspondence games played with this line, so that shows how deep opening preparation goes nowadays. So with knight e5, white attacks the queen, and being material up, it makes sense to trade off the strongest pieces. Bishop takes, rook takes. Now the knight comes back from h5, where it was not doing anything, back into the game, likely going to f5 or maybe to e6. Let's have a look. Rook 81, knight e6. The knight is doing perfectly there in the center. White goes for the move h4, and the other knight on the rim also not doing that much, comes back into the game. Knight c6, And that makes sense because what you would like to do here as black is to install a knight on d4 to disconnect the rooks and initiate more piece exchanges. So what should be done here is a move like queen c4. Was not played in the game, but the idea is that now after putting a knight on d4, you can take it, and if you take back with a knight, there's this tactic with rook takes d4, and the pawn on c5 cannot, well, it can take the rook, but it's not recommended because you do hang your queen. So therefore queen c4 is an interesting idea to pin the pawn on c5. But Deac went for the move h5, looks very aggressive, trying to open up the king side, but it's not really clear what the other pieces are going to do next because black is rock solid. Everything is well protected, and now Ding breaks free with the move d6. He's getting rid of that backward d pawn, and when this pawn is gone, it's likely that rooks are going to be traded off on the open file. Pawn takes d6, black recaptured with the bishop. So now we see also that the rook is opposing the queen on the e file. Queen went to c4, and knight went back to e7, attacking the rook on d5. And now after rook back to d3, there is knight f5 attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back to c1, but step by step, black is untangling its position. And now, for instance, bishop e7 is a move I like a lot to prepare the exchange of rooks. And then the other rook will come to the d file, and black is just in really good shape. However, Ding went here for the move knight d4 right away. Very logical move after knight takes d4. The big difference is that this time the knight cannot be taken by the rook, because after c takes d4, this bishop is protecting the queen, so white is not winning material. After this exchange of knights, black's knight is fantastically placed on d4. It ensures that the white pieces, they are not that threatening at all. And well, maybe something like bishop g5 could be played here, trying to put some pressure on that rook. But here, Deac played a slow move. He went for a4, but very soon black is taking over. The queen becomes active. After bishop e3, the bishop comes to e5 to support that knight on d4, and white doesn't have a pawn to dislodge that knight from that central post. And well, black is much better just to full pawn up. Here, another big mistake played by Deac. Not an obvious mistake. He took the pawn on g6. Maybe it would have been better just to keep that h-pawn on the board. We now nowadays, thanks to AlphaZero and other strong grandmasters, that such a pawn can be quite a nuisance in the long run, as the black king doesn't have much air to walk into. There's no g7 square. Back rank issues are always in the air. After h takes g6, h takes g6, the h file is open, and the king comes over to, the king goes to g7, and the rook comes over to the h file. a5 played, now queen f5, the queen is activated first. Bishop to c1 was played. It's not clear what white can do here. Rook h8, pawn takes b6, black recaptures, and well, everything is very well protected. You can even protect the pawn on b6 one more time with a rook, with a bishop, with a queen. Anything is possible, but the plan is very simple. If black were to play, there follows something like rook h2, rook h8. Maybe there are sacrifices on g2 to eliminate the remaining defender, and then the queen can come in, as it can count on the support of the other rook as well. There are serious mating threats. So now white took a drastic measure here. By playing the move f4, doesn't really threaten anything. The bishop cannot be taken because of this pin. Rook h2, the rook comes anyway. Rook d2 covering this bishop, and now the other rook comes over as well. Black has some very concrete play on that h file. Queen d5 played, so you're pinning this bishop on e5, but the bishop goes back to f6, and even though the attack now comes to an end, as queens are going to be exchanged, black retains a huge initiative as he's about to take on g3 with a knight. White protected that pawn with a rook. c4, attacking the rook again. Rook went to a3 to stay on the third rank, but now the b-pawn comes as well. And we see that black has a 2 versus 1 majority. That's one very nice aspect. The idea is even to play b4 so that the rook has difficulties to stay on this third rank. G4 was played, and now the knight is under threat. But look what black did now. He just ignored the threat, played here rook h1. That's a beautiful sacrifice. White can take it with his bishop. Rook recaptures with check. King got to move and keep the rook defended on d1, but now the knight comes into d4 with check. And here, white decided to give back the material by taking on d4, but this should be checked as well. If you play the move king d2, there is rook h2 check, and there are a lot of problems. If the king goes to c3 now, it's knight c6 with a discovered check, and look, this knight is taking away all the squares. The pawn covers all the squares on the third rank. The rook covers the second rank. This is leading to a beautiful checkmate. So king cannot go to c3. If it goes to e1 instead, now it's bishop h4 check. King got to go to f1 and rook h1. After the king goes away, the king cannot come to e2 as the knight protects that square. So king got to go away, and then you simply take the rook on d1, and black is just winning. All right, so let's go back. After knight d4 check, there followed rook takes d4, bishop takes d4, but material is even. Well, black is actually a pawn up, but the main problem for white is this bishop. The bishop is hanging. If the bishop goes to d2, it's bishop takes b2, and black wins a second pawn. Therefore, the rook went back to a1, but this is horrible. You don't want to place your rook in a pin. The bishop cannot move as the rook will be hanging. Now the b pawn came forward. King f3 was played. Rook e1, cutting off the king. The king can never come back to support that weaker side of the board. There followed the move f5, and now g5 was played. And here, Deac had seen enough. His position is just absolutely hopeless. He cannot go anywhere. You just got to be a little bit careful that you never place your king on a dark square, so that white has this option, for instance, to sacrifice the bishop with check, and so that the rook on e1 will be hanging. So you got to be a little bit careful still. For amateur players, this may seem like a premature resignation, but in fact, black is just completely winning. So I think this was a very, very instructive game. The last classical game Ding Liren played, and it's sad to see that the world champion is not showing his what he is best at, and that's a big difference with the previous world champion Magnus Carlsen, who is incredibly active, playing a lot of tournaments, and he seems to be enjoying himself. But we can only wait for a comeback by Ding Liren, hopefully in the beginning of January in Wijk aan Zee. Let me know what you think of his game, about his decision not to play anything, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye bye.